Hello and welcome back to the Houston Texans franchise. We're into the offseason after losing in the divisional round to the Cleveland Browns in overtime. It was a great game, but we just couldn't stop Baker Mayfield and that passing attack. Unfortunately for the Browns, they would lose in overtime themselves in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs, who would go on to win the Super Bowl over the Dallas Cowboys 42-35. It was a great game with both teams scoring multiple touchdowns in that fourth quarter. Mahomes would throw for 5 touchdowns on his way to winning Super Bowl MVP. Don't forget about Kevin Pierre-Louis. He is now a Super Bowl champion after we traded him at the trade deadline for a late round pick. So congratulations to him and the Kansas City Chiefs. On to the retirements. Kelechi Osemele and Linval Joseph both call it quits after playing one season here in Houston. They were both starters, so we're going to have to replace them. Harrison Smith done after 11 seasons there in Minnesota. Marcus Cannon retiring after just one season there in Pittsburgh. He was with us the first 2 seasons of this franchise. The Pete Carroll era is over in Seattle. They will need to find a new head coach. Aaron Rodgers done after 18 long seasons in Green Bay. Speaking of long, how about the Tom Brady era finally over? He's finally done after 23 long seasons in the NFL. So 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks retiring, and they're going to need to be replaced. Jordan Love going to get his shot there in Green Bay, and Sean Bush, the ex-college teammate of Dwight Devine, going to be the starting quarterback there in Tampa Bay. With the season over, we now know where our picks will land in this year's draft. We actually have 2 first-rounders, one of those coming from the Giants in the Deshaun Watson trade, and we'll be picking at pick 19 right after our division rival, Jacksonville Jaguars. They have us taking left guard Cole Saunders there at pick 19, which isn't necessarily a bad projection because we obviously need to address the offensive line. Eric Northcutt, though, is my favorite offensive lineman in this draft that we could actually take. He is a big tackle out of UCLA with great tool elite strength, A awareness, A impact block, and A pass block. He could possibly be a starting right tackle right away in this league. Our other first round pick is pick 28. They have us taking Mike Melton, an interior defensive lineman out of Michigan State. We'll focus on the draft here in a little bit. We have some other things we have to take care of here first. The first big change we're going to be making here is firing defensive coordinator Sammy Rios. With the way that last game went against the Browns, I think it is the best thing we can do. We're going to be making a switch from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and we're going to be hiring Frank Pride to do that. We are hit with a bunch of regression here to James White. He did lose his star dev and dropped to a normal dev. He still is a solid player, but he's not very explosive anymore. He should still contribute on third downs in the passing game, but I think we need a new backup running back that can run between the tackles, especially now that James White is 31. Davante Adams surprisingly did not get hit with any regression, even though he is 30 now, so he's still a 99 overall superstar X Factor. Brandon Cooks got hit with a little regression, but not too much. Still a pretty explosive player here at the age of 29. We'll see if he ends up getting extended here or not. The last player that we're going to talk about regression is Donta Hightower, and man, did he lose a lot. He should still be a good 2-down linebacker, but we will likely need to find somebody else to play on third downs and obvious passing situations with where his coverage and speed ratings are at this point in his career. Let's do one last quick roster breakdown before we move on to the offseason and make any more moves. At quarterback, we are set with Dwight Devine. Mills could be traded if the right offer comes. At running back, we have Damian Willis, but not a whole lot else. We need to add some better depth here, especially now that James White has been hit with regression. At receiver, our clear-cut number 1 is Davante Adams, but with Brandon Cooks possibly leaving in free agency, what do we do behind Davante Adams? We'll need to add for sure a new slot receiver if Cooks leaves. The offensive line has been an issue the last 2 seasons, and we really need to address it. It is our top priority, especially now that we have 3 starting spots open at both guards and at right tackle. At tight end, I like Brevin Jordan, but I feel like we could do better than him. So should we add a new starter over top of him? I guess we'll find out if any are available. On to the defense, where we are transitioning from a 4-3 to a 3-4. I like Martin Boyce and Ross Blacklock, but we do need better depth behind them. Omenihu right now is the starting left end, but we could add somebody over top of him and have a new starter there and make Omenihu the depth interior defensive lineman, which would probably be our best option. At corner, I like Michael Barr and I like Desmond King in the slot. but we need to add another starter on the opposite side of Michael Barr on the outside. Jimmy Moreland has been the guy trying to do that, but it just hasn't worked out. We're probably going to be moving on from Jimmy Moreland and let him walk in free agency. I like all of our middle linebackers. Hopefully Jacoby Stevens can be that coverage linebacker that has to play on third downs over top of Hightower. Adam Weiner is going to be one of our pass rushers on the outside. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but we do need another edge rusher on the opposite side of him because Jonathan Greenard and the rest of the guys on the roster are not it. At the safety positions, we are perfectly fine, locked into both the starters and backups now that Tanner Muse has moved from linebacker to strong safety. On to the re-signing period. We do have a bunch of depth guys we're going to be letting walk, so let's focus on the big ones like Brandon Cooks. $54 million over 4 years. Is he worth it? We'll come back to that. Tristan Hill, $10.2 million over 2 years. I think that's a bit much, so we're going to be actually letting him walk. Jimmy Moreland, $5.52 over 1 year. I mean, we're letting him walk anyway, but that's not that much. Kind of surprised it's that low. Andrew Quintana will be the first guy we go ahead and re-sign. It will be a 1-year prove-it deal. We'll see if he can make the roster in preseason. If he doesn't, he'll be just moved to the practice squad. Brandon Cooks, we're going to be offering him 3 years, $36 million. I don't want to offer him the full 4 years because that would take him past Dwight Divine's rookie deal. And Brandon Cooks says no, he's going to be hitting free agency. We'll see what his market looks like here in the offseason. Before we actually move on to free agency, we do have one last thing we are going to be doing, and that is trading our linebacker, Zach Cunningham. At the age of 28, he does have star dev, has some solid ratings, but he is no longer a fit for the new 3-4 defense. So we're going to be offering him to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he will likely spend the next 2 seasons of his big contract, along with Marlon Casey for a 2nd-round pick in this year's draft, and they have accepted. So time to move on to the free agency period, where we have $107 million to make some deals here. The first free agent we see available is Lamar Jackson. We obviously will not be going after him, and he could be a franchise quarterback possibly somewhere else other than Baltimore. Terry McLaurin, Kareem Hunt, who ended our season as a free agent, Rodney Hudson, and there you see Brandon Cooks. Doesn't have too many offers right this minute. Looking at receivers specifically, we see McCole Hardman, Slayton, Cole Beasley, Scotty Miller. There's a bunch of decent free agents at receiver. Who should we bring in? Who should we not bring in? I guess we'll come back to that after we look around at the other positions that we need to focus on. At the tackle positions, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot here. Greg Little and Andre Dillard, the top 2 at left tackle. And then at right tackle, we really see that Elijah Wilkinson's the second one. That's as far as you need to go to know that there's not many good tackles in the free agent class. The guards don't look too great either. Eric Flowers, the top one there at right guard, with Will Hernandez behind him. And at left guard, it's actually even worse. So we don't really have many options to sign here in free agency along the offensive line, which really sucks. That is our main focus this offseason, is improving the offensive line. Defensively, not a ton of edge rushers either. I mean, just look at these free agent names, not a bunch here. Sue could be a good interior guy, I guess. Zadarius Smith is the best edge rusher available here at left outside linebacker. At right, Melvin Ingram, a veteran, and Andrew Van Ginkel. Corner actually does have a bunch of depth guys here that could possibly start outside opposite of Michael Barr. Jimmy Moreland already has a bunch of interest from a couple of teams down there. We'll see which one he ends up picking because remember, we are letting him walk. And with that, I think it is time we actually start making some offers here in free agency. Starting with Scotty Miller, the 26-year-old, has great speed, solid route running across the board, especially the deep route running. He'd be a perfect fit for what we're looking to do here offensively. We're going to be offering him a 3-year deal for $24 million. We do have to outbid his previous team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We don't have too many options here in free agency to help solve our offensive line issues. Will Hernandez, probably the best guard on the market, has great strength, solid ratings to go along with it. He is just 27. Let's offer him 2 years, $8.5 million. We do have to outbid some other teams though. Martin Slauson was an undrafted rookie free agent last season. He played with the Patriots. They let him walk. We're going to offer Slauson a 1-year deal worth $2 million to possibly be a backup. DJ Fluker has great strength, solid ratings. He could be a decent backup tackle. Hopefully he does not have to end up being our starter if he signs. We're offering him just a 1-year deal. Danny Shelton could possibly be that backup defensive tackle. Good strength, Block shed is a little low. We'll offer him a 1-year deal as well to possibly make the team after preseason. Another 1-year offer going out here to Marlon Davidson, who has some good block shed, okay power moves. He is really young and has star dev, so a 1-year deal to be a backup for $3.5 million isn't too bad. Pass rusher we're going to go after in free agency is Andrew Van Ginkel. He has 81 finesse move, 67 power move, 75 block shed. He's probably the best pass rusher on the market for his price. We're going to go for a 3-year offer for $33 million. We do have to outbid the Buccaneers and Packers. Trey Flowers is the corner we're going to go after at 6'3", has good speed and solid coverage. It's just a cheap deal for 2 years and $8 million. Nobody else is offering him. We'll see if we're able to get him or any of these free agents here in this first round of free agency. So let's go ahead and see what offers we have got or not gotten. We did not get Scotty Miller. He has chosen to go back to the Buccaneers for less money. That is very surprising to me. And Will Hernandez, even more surprising, going for less money and less years to the Lions. So we do get Andrew Van Ginkel at least. Like I said, some okay ratings. I don't know if he's actually going to be good enough to be that pass rusher we are looking for. He has never really done it in his career there in Miami, but we're going to give him a full-time chance to be that edge rusher. Marlon Davidson accepted his offer, so now he will be a backup for us for at least 1 season with that star dev at just 25 years old. Trey Flowers accepted his 2-year deal worth $8 million. I like his size, speed, and coverage combo. He's a good fallback option if we can't get anybody in the draft. Speaking of the draft, it is time to do some private workouts. First one we have selected here is Joe Scott, an athletic-looking tight end. Hopefully he looks good, and maybe we take him in that second round. Martin McIntyre is the second choice here. We got to find out about him in the middle rounds there as a guard because the free agent class not too good there. Roman Davis, we tried having him as one of our focus scouting players, but it just glitched out and didn't work. Maybe the private workout will. I guess he'll be the third option here. We'll see if that actually works this time or not. We are nearing the end of the free agency period, at least pre-draft free agency, and Lamar Jackson still has no offers. Brandon Cooks has chosen to go back to the Patriots for 4 years, $57 million. We did make him another offer here in free agency, but it was just a 3-year offer, and he chose to go for that extra year and a little more money back to the Patriots. The free agency market is kind of drying up, so is the offensive line market. We actually did get somebody. It is Eric Flowers. We had to overpay even for him. A 1-year deal worth $7 million, but with not many starting options available, we just had to do it. DJ Fluker accepted his 1-year offer for that $3 million. Hopefully he can at least be a solid backup. He might have to be our starter though if we miss out on one in the draft. Speaking of 1-year deals, we got Martin Slauson to accept. Hopefully he's just a backup next season for us, but if we can't find anybody in the draft, he could also end up being a starter. The receiver position, it does not look good in free agency here anymore. All the guys already chose their team, and with not many options left, we're going to go after Cole Beasley. The 34-year-old is not very explosive, but he is the best on the market. He did play his college ball here in Texas at SMU. We're going to offer him a 2-year deal for $20 million, but he has to pick us over the Packers, who are offering him a bit more money. And that is actually going to be the end of free agency. We'll take a look at what offers we did get accepted or not. Lamar Jackson actually ended up going unsigned here in the pre-draft free agency, so some team is going to scoop him up and get him for a cheap 1-year deal. Leonard Fournette ended up signing with us at the buzzer. We just threw a deal out here for very cheap, 3 years, $6 million, so he's going to end up being our backup running back here for a couple of seasons. Cole Beasley chose us over the Green Bay Packers. Kind of surprised that he chose less money to come here, but we'll take it, I guess. He's going to be a solid slot option. He doesn't really have any explosiveness at this point in his career, and we had to overpay to get him. He's never actually had an 1,000-yard season in his career. We'll see what he does for us. Danny Shelton going to be brought in on that 1-year deal to prove it and maybe make the team as that backup nose tackle. Looking around the league at the rest of the free agent choices here, the Ravens are going to go with Drew Lock and Gardner Minshew to duke it out to replace Lamar Jackson. We'll see how that ends up working out for them. Kareem Hunt must have gotten tired of being a backup there in Cleveland. He chooses to go to the New England Patriots, who look like they're the big spenders this offseason as they get Kareem Hunt and Brandon Cooks. The top receiver on the market, though, was Terry McLaurin, and he chose to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers for $84 million, joining Daniel Jones, maybe making that offense a lot better. They did make the Super Bowl in year 1 in this franchise. Mecole Hardman goes to the Green Bay Packers, giving Jordan Love a #1 receiver, I guess, because they never replaced Devontae Adams after he left them in free agency to join us. Terrence Holt going to be in the division. He is a superstar 71 overall young receiver going to the Jaguars. At tight end, Irv Smith Jr. was the top one on the market. He is going to join the Los Angeles Chargers and that insane looking offense as they keep getting better and better. Dan Arnold going to the Green Bay Packers. Rodney Hudson was the top option among offensive linemen. He is going to be going to the Buffalo Bills. Farrell going to be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he is in our division. Zadarius Smith, the top edge rusher, chooses to go to the Minnesota Vikings, and Cole Holcomb going to the Ravens. Hey, how about Kevin Pierre-Louis signing a deal with the Raiders, making things interesting, leaving the Chiefs, going to the team we knocked out of the playoffs, and he joins a division rival of the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty interesting decision by him. The Jets signed the top 2 corners on the market, and then you can see the rest of the deals here, including Jimmy Moreland going to the New Orleans Saints. I kind of like that fit. We'll see if he's able to play better than he did for us. And the last one here that I want to talk about is Rock Ya-Sin going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, leaving the Indianapolis Colts. That is enough about free agency. It is time to focus on the draft. We obviously still have some needs we were not able to fill in free agency, and the last mock draft has been released. Let's see who they have us taking here. Still left guard Cole Saunders there at pick 19 after the Jaguars take left tackle Gregory Hudson. And then with our second first-round pick, they have us taking Caleb Kavanaugh, an interior defensive lineman. Eric Northcutt dropping all the way to 29, going the pick after us, which we would probably not let happen because we obviously have a need at tackle after free agency. We only could get DJ Fluker, and I don't want him to be the starter. I'd rather have him be the backup. I think Eric Northcutt, after his combine, still looks like a first-round pick, in my opinion, and probably still the #2 tackle in this draft. Didn't have a negative draft story like Gregory Hudson. We're not able to get the #1 tackle in the draft because that is Mike Caldwell. He's going to go all the way in the top 5. If we don't get either of the other 2 left tackles, we're going to end up probably taking Brandon Childress here, who did have the 4th best bench press on his pro day. Has some okay ratings, but he's a day 3 pick, and you can't really count on him to be a day 1 starter. Probably not the best option. With the way free agency went at the wide receiver position, we obviously still have a need here. There is a lot of first or second round options, but the best one that might end up sliding is Byron Mitchell. He has dropped 27 spots down the board because of injury concerns. You see the college pro day and combine are insane with that 40-yard dash time and bench press and all the other things to go along with that size. So maybe he ends up falling, and maybe we end up taking him in the 2nd or 3rd round. Joe Scott, a tight end we selected as one of our private workouts, unfortunately glitched out and didn't work, so we don't know any more than we already knew. He does have an insane combine overall and A awareness. I still think he is probably worth a 2nd round pick, definitely a 3rd round pick. We'll see how the draft ends up going, and if we're able to take him in that 2nd or 3rd round. Some team might reach for him though, because that combine is so good, it's hard not to take him at the end of the 1st round or early 2nd. Martin McIntyre is one of our other guys we selected as a private workout, and his glitched out as well. And it is really unfortunate. I was really hoping to know more about him. I mean, we know B run block and some of the other things. He still looks okay, but is he good enough to be a day 1 starter? We don't know. Cole Saunders, an early round guard option, had a good combine, C pass block, B run block. If we decide to go with one of our 1st round picks at guard, he could be a choice. Another early round guard option here is Chase Hyde. He had not quite as good of a combine as Cole Saunders, but still has some pretty good ratings here. A impact, B awareness. If we take an early round guard, Chase Hyde would probably be the guy I select. At center, there are some interesting options if you want to take one and move him to a guard position like Mitchell Black here, but the strength is going to be pretty low on him. His combine is not very good, neither was his pro day. We do know he has A run block and B pass block though. Maybe a late round option we take and hope he has some good ratings. The pass rushers in this draft aren't the greatest, especially edge rushers. I mean, just not many good options overall. Tyler Randall, one of my favorite ones, just because you could get him on day 3. His bench press was solid, and so is his 40-yard dash. We know he has B finesse move, B pursuit, which tells me he could probably take down the quarterback pretty well for a day 3 option. We did sign Trey Flowers at corner, but I still think we could use a younger option like Roman Davis, who had a 4.4 40. He had a good bench press, vertical jump, broad jump, everything great, especially considering he is 6'3". The B awareness, B man, B press. He's going to be good in coverage. I mean, everything tells me here that he is worth a first round pick. The only other corner that is kind of interesting to me in the early rounds is Dorian Alston. He ran a better 40 and had a pretty solid bench press, but he has F stamina. We don't know the awareness and we don't know the man coverage. So he's going to be a little lower on my board, but still an option in the early rounds. And with that, I think it is time we actually get into the draft. With the Broncos on the clock, the number 1 overall pick is Antonio Binns, a right end out of Tennessee. The number 2 pick, the Atlanta Falcons, are going to go ahead and select Connor Schwartz. They go back-to-back with quarterbacks in the first round now. I don't know why Madden hasn't fixed that. I thought they did, but I guess not. The Saints go Mike Caldwell, and he is going to be the best player in this draft. I have no doubt. They just got an all-pro tackle at pick 3. With pick 4, the Lions go Kendrick Newton, wide receiver out of San Diego State, maybe finding the next Calvin Johnson. I think that is how good he could end up being. Moving ahead in the draft, the Bills actually select the Heisman winner there, Jalen Hartwell, and the Colts go Sammy McDonald, the cornerback out of USC. Interesting choice there. The Tennessee Titans, the pick after them, go Theo Carroll, an edge rusher out of Tulane. So both teams go on defense there, trying to stop our offense. A couple of picks later, the Jaguars go ahead and select left tackle Gregory Hudson, meaning there is just one of those 3 tackles left that is worth taking here in the first round. It is Eric Northcutt, the one who we thought would end up falling to us. He is 6'7", 313 pounds, 22 years old, out of UCLA. I think the Combine and Pro Day are pretty solid, not overwhelmingly amazing on the bench press, but still good enough to take here. So we're going to go ahead and make Eric Northcutt a Houston Texan, and he is hidden dev. Thank goodness we did not take a normal dev offensive lineman in the first round. He does have 90 strength, but we will not know the rest of his ratings until after the draft. The Raiders on the clock here at pick 21. They're going to go ahead and select quarterback Steve Davenport. He had some off-the-field issues. We'll see if he can overcome them and be a starter here in the league. Cole Saunders going to the Ravens and James Barnes to the Panthers. So back-to-back guards go ahead of us as we are on the clock again here in the first round at pick 28. Byron Mitchell still on the board. I think he's a solid option, but this is still a little early for him. Same thing with Joe Scott. There are 3 other tight ends in front of him, so we're not going to be selecting either of those guys here in the first round. What about selecting a guard? We obviously have a need. Cole Dunbar is an option, but he's projected to go 2nd or 3rd round. At right guard, there really isn't an option that is better than him. So what about a cornerback? Roman Davis is still here. I mean, he is a 1st or 2nd round option, it says. 6'3", 183. Obviously had that great Combine and Pro Day, and the skills tell me he is worth a 1st round pick. So I think we actually should go ahead and make him our pick here. And he is going to be hidden dev as well, with 92 speed, 96 change of direction. I mean, that's incredible. He is the outside corner we were looking for to play opposite of Michael Barr. Now, rounding out the first round, the Browns go with running back Tyrone Rogers. Dorian Alston off the board there to the Buccaneers. A couple of interesting choices as we end this first round and move into the second. We see a tight end finally goes off the board there to the Bengals in Trayvon Wilbur. Caleb Kavanaugh going to the Arizona Cardinals. I kind of like that fit. He could be a future replacement for J.J. Watt and start day 1 if they need him to. Now we're back on the clock here in the second round at pick 12. We could use an edge rusher. Damon Coles is available. They'd have the best 40-yard dash time of any right end. Bench press is a little low, but not too bad. The finesse move is pretty solid. Is he worth the first pick of the second round for us, though? I don't know. Joe Scott still here, and a tight end did go off the board. Did have the best 40-yard dash time, best bench press, pretty much the best combine of any tight end in the draft. Cole Dunbar is still available, and we obviously do need a guard. He did have the best bench press of any guard, but we've trusted the combine for offensive linemen before and been burned. I don't know if he's worth the pick. What about Byron Mitchell? I mean, he does have the injury concerns, but look at the combine for a receiver of his size. Somebody who has the best bench press, that great of a 40-yard dash time, he can jump, he can do it all. And looking at the skills, I think he is probably the best pick for us here I like the depth at other positions better than at receiver. So Byron Mitchell is the selection, and he is just normal dev. I like the speed, change of direction, and jumping, but what are the receiving skills actually going to look like? A couple of picks later, Damon Coles goes off the board, which is unfortunate. I was hoping he would fall a little bit further, but he didn't. Cole Dunbar goes to the Titans, and that kind of hurts. Hopefully he's not very good for our sake, otherwise we missed out on another good offensive lineman, and he's going to be in our division. Carter Bennett, another tight end, going off the board here to the Jacksonville Jaguars, making me think we need to trade up. We want to make sure we get Joe Scott, so we're going to offer this deal to the Packers, offering our 2nd round pick and a 6th rounder in this draft to move up a couple of spots and go ahead and select Joe Scott. I think it is the obvious choice. We do not want to see him on another team, especially with that A awareness and that insane combine. He is going to be our selection, and he is hidden dev. Thank goodness that he's hidden dev. Otherwise, we'd have taken 2 normal dev guys out of Florida State in the 2nd round, which would have been really disappointing. So good thing he has that hidden dev. A couple of picks later, the Seahawks go with a tight end, so good thing we traded up. Otherwise, we might have missed out on Joe Scott. Now into the 3rd round, we're going to be making a trade here to move up 8 spots. We have to use one of our 4th rounders to do it, but we're getting back a future 6th. So we move up 8 spots. Let's go ahead and see who we are. We're going to try to select here. Since we missed out on Cole Dunbar, we're going to be going with Martin McIntyre, really the only guard available that looks like he could be decent. Did have the 2nd best bench press behind Dunbar. I mean, the ratings look solid. Let's go ahead and select him here, and he's just normal dev. Unfortunate. We'll see if his ratings are at least good enough to possibly start day 1 as one of our 2 guards. Obviously, we signed Eric Flowers to be the other. And now we're into the 4th round. Let's see who's still available. Tyler Randall, a potential edge rusher who did have a pretty good 40-yard dash and good bench press. As B finesse moves, B pursuit. He is the selection here, and he is just normal dev. I do like the speed and acceleration combo. Hopefully, he can at least be a good backup for us as one of those edge rushers. Now into the 5th round as we keep moving further and further into the draft. Still plenty of good players worth selecting here in the late rounds, including Adrian Thurston, who had the 2nd best bench press among left ends at 29 reps, at least on his pro day. His skill set looks pretty solid here. A power move, A pursuit, C awareness. Only an F hit power, so he's not going to hit very hard, but we're still going to take him. He does have 81 strength and 79 speed. He is only normal dev. We'll see what the rest of his ratings look like after the draft. We're going to be trading up here in the 6th round, using Jason Lashley and our own 6th round pick to move all the way up to the top of the 6th round to select Mitchell Black, who is still on the board. He was projected to be a day 3 pick. I think he had a solid combine and pro day, not overall amazing. A run block, B pass block. Hopefully he has hidden dev, and he does not. Very unfortunate that the 2 middle and late round interior offensive linemen we selected both had normal dev. Hopefully at least one of them has good enough ratings to possibly start day 1. Otherwise, we're going to have to make another signing after the draft to add a starter at left guard. Justin Dunn is still on the board here, projected to be a day 3 pick somehow, even though he had the best 40-yard dash time. Also has B carrying, B catching, A kick return. Let's go ahead and select him here. And he does only have 91 speed and is just normal dev, but he's worth rostering because you could develop him for a couple of seasons and potentially have him as a backup. Now in the 7th round, we're going to be trading up using a practice squad player from last season in Perry and sending him to the Rams for their 7th round pick, where we're going to select Earl Anderson, a defensive tackle out of Houston, who had the best 40-yard dash time among defensive tackles, has B power move, C awareness. So let's go ahead and make him the pick and keep him in Houston. He's just normal dev, 74 speed, 84 strength. Hopefully he can develop and be a rotational piece down the line. Another trade here in the 7th round. I just love doing this so much. Let's send 2 more practice squad guys from last season to the Bears for their 7th round pick and see who is on the board. We do need another slot receiver guy we can develop. Juan Nash seems like a perfect option here. Did run a 4.42 on his pro day, the 5th best among receivers. Does have B deep route running, C short, but only has D catching. So the hands a bit of a problem. Still, we're going to take him, and he is just normal dev. We'll see how he ends up looking across the board on his other receiver ratings. Finally, to our own 7th round draft pick here, let's go ahead and select Clarence Philbin, who had the 9th best 40-yard dash time among quarterbacks, has B accuracy deep, only D awareness, A trucking. He is going to be normal dev, only 86 throw power, 79 speed. We'll see what the rest of his ratings look like. One last trade here in the draft. Let's go ahead and send Shane Buechele to the Cowboys for their 7th round pick. And we're going to go ahead and select a kicker, Hayden Weber out of Michigan State, worth a 7th round pick. Why not take a chance on a kicker and hope that he ends up being a star, but I highly doubt it. Still, go ahead and make him the pick. He is just normal dev, only 88 kick power. Hopefully the accuracy is at least all right. And that will be all for the draft. Let's go ahead and take a look at all the players we selected. Eric Northcutt, our first pick in the first round. He looks like he's going to be pretty solid. A 71 overall, 90 strength, 76 pass block. The run block is a little low. It's probably going to be a 71 because morale is affecting it right now. I think I'm happy with that selection. He should be our day 1 starter at right tackle. Roman Davis, the second first round pick we had. He's a 74 overall. The man coverage at 75 is pretty good. Only 69 zone, but still a pretty solid looking corner. Hopefully the hands come up a little bit down the line. Just 60 catching. Probably not going to be intercepting too many passes. Byron Mitchell is a 73 overall. Does just have that normal dev. I do think he has some pretty solid hands. The route running's all right. Can't really run deep routes, but still the athletic ability and size should make him a pretty good player. Does have just 72 injury. Could end up getting hurt quite a bit. I guess we'll see if he's able to stay on the field or not. Joe Scott at 71 overall, 86 speed, 83 catching. Run blocking is a little lower than I thought it would be, but the 70 awareness makes up for that. So does the catching in traffic and spec catch. Yeah, he should be a pretty good tight end and could be our day 1 starter there over Brevin Jordan even. Martin McIntyre looks like a bust, just a 63 overall. The ratings are a lot better than I thought they would be at 63 overall, but still definitely not a day 1 starter. We are going to have to sign somebody to start at left guard day 1. That's kind of unfortunate. We'll see who's available, I guess, ahead of next episode. Tyler Randall, a 69 overall, has some pass rushing skills here. 67 block shed is a bit low. I think he can develop into one of those rotational defensive ends that you always look for. I guess he's not a defensive end, he's an edge rusher. I wish they would just switch that in Madden from outside linebacker to edge and interior defensive lineman. It just makes more sense. Adrian Thurston here has some decent power move and block shed. The athleticism is also solid. He's definitely going to be probably a rotational piece right away. Mitchell Black, just a 65 overall. Cannot block against finesse rushers at all. 58 run block finesse, 58 pass block finesse. He needs a lot of work before he's going to be able to see the field. That is unfortunate. Justin Dunn, 65 overall, actually probably a 66 overall. The morale affecting him a bit. 74 break tackle is not too bad. 79 trucking is a little low. Not great at changing directions. Needs to work on the hands, but I think he can get there eventually and be a decent backup. Earl Anderson is actually a little better than I thought he would be when it comes to rushing the passer, but the block shed is a whole lot worse. Just 58 block shed. He needs a bunch of work before he's going to be able to see the field in the regular season. Juan Nash, a 66 overall once the morale goes away. I think the route running is not too bad. The speed's okay. The hands are better than I thought they would be. Yeah, I think he's decent. He could make the roster day 1 and be a potential extra slot receiver we have. Clarence Philbin here. The ratings aren't too bad. It's just that the awareness is bringing down his overall quite a bit, making him look a lot worse than he probably is. Yeah, he could be a decent 3rd string quarterback that you develop and end up making him a backup potentially down the line. We'll see if that ends up happening for him. Hayden Weber, a 67 overall, just 66 kick accuracy. Probably not good enough to overtake our current kicker in Fairbairn, but he could be somebody you throw on the practice squad and develop at that kicker position for a season or 2. Let's look at some of the other players that were drafted. Antonio Binns, who was the number 1 overall selection, has hidden dev. Looks like he's going to be really good. Connor Schwartz, who went to the Falcons, the first quarterback off the board, has some solid ratings in his hidden dev, but he's probably not going to be their day 1 starter. They just took a quarterback last year in the first round, and he's going to be a higher overall after the development from last season. Mike Caldwell, the highest overall in the draft. Of course, he's going to be an all-pro for a long time there at left tackle. Kendrick Newton, a 78 overall, hidden dev, some really solid ratings, and might be the player that helps finally turn the Lions around, hopefully. Sammy McDonald, a 74 overall normal dev, was the Colts first round pick. Unfortunate for the Colts that he is just normal dev. The ratings are okay, but not the greatest. Theo Carroll is a hidden dev 21-year-old, does have great finesse move, solid speed. I think he's going to develop into a solid pass rusher for the Titans. Gregory Hudson, the tackle that went the pick before us, is going to be a 70 overall after the morale goes down a bit. 90 strength, some solid ratings, but I think we got the better tackle. Steve Davenport, the quarterback the Raiders took in the first round, is just normal dev. Ratings are okay, and he's not exactly the greatest player that's going to start over Derek Carr day one, so he's going to end up sitting a season or two. Chase Hyde, the guy they kept projecting us to take in the first round, his ratings are solid, but he is just normal dev. Cole Saunders is hidden dev at just a 72 overall, 90 strength. Good run block finesse. The rest of the ratings are low 70s or mid. Damon Cole's the guy we passed on in the second round, does have a good finesse move and solid speed, but he can't stop the run and is just normal dev. Unfortunately, Cole Dunbar is hidden dev and is a 73 overall. He would have been a day one starter for us at left guard, but we took Byron Mitchell over him. Looking at the rest of the picks our division made, the Colts, unfortunately for them, did not get a single hidden dev guy, so not the greatest draft. The Jaguars ended up getting just the one in Gregory Hudson and a bunch of backups to go along with him. Overall, I would say the Titans had the second best draft behind us, getting two hidden dev starters in Cole Dunbar and Theo Carroll. That will be all, though, for the off-season. Ahead of preseason, next time I'll show you who we signed to try to play left guard and some of the other guys we signed that might end up making an impact or at least make the roster. Yeah, thanks for watching. Comment down below what you thought of the offseason, and I will see you next time with the preseason.